I went to Thessaloniki, and there's a little carousel, just a little baggage claim. I saw all these posters of these young women and children. What struck me was just the sheer number of them. I'm looking at all of these faces. I kept reading the word missing, missing, missing. Then, as I'm looking, the little girl's name was Sophia. That's my moment, everything changed. I went from looking to seeing what could have been my child. That moment changed everything because I saw my daughter. I could not get rid of that name, Sophia. And I called my friend that at the time worked for UNICEF. And then she went on to tell me, Christine, don't you realize these are the alleged victims of human trafficking? I went, what do you mean human trafficking? She goes, they're modern day slaves. I went, slavery doesn't exist. You know, there's been the Emancipation Proclamation Act, there's the Free the Slaves Act. I go, slavery doesn't exist anymore.
She started to tell me about this poster and how somebody had told her, well, it could be an alleged victim of human trafficking. And so she's like, let's do some research on this. If this issue is as big as what people are telling me, I really feel like this is something that we should support, we should get behind and see if there's something that we can do.
I had no intention initially of starting anything. I thought I'm going to become a spokesperson for somebody and I will help them raise a whole lot of money and I'm going to talk about this wherever I go.
We were trying to find somebody who was successfully doing something to fight trafficking in Europe. One woman looked at me and laughed when I said, so tell me about some of the successes you're having because we really want to find someone we can support. But she just laughed at me and said, you don't have successes in this area. It's hopeless.
I remember when Chris walked in one day and was asking, you know, have we been able to find anybody? What are we going to do? And explaining to her, it really isn't anybody that we're finding at this moment. And her going, well, then we'll do it.
Before when I'd looked, like when I looked at the posters in Kiev, I looked away because I didn't understand them. I looked and I just looked away. But when I saw that little girl in Greece, I could not look away.
One day I got a text message from the dean of college and he was like, hey, Nick would like to meet with you about something in Greece on Friday. Could you meet with him? And he also misspelled Greece, G-R-E-A-S-E. So I was like, Australian slang is like greasy, something in Greece. So there's something in progress that someone called Nick wants to talk to me about. And I'd never met Nick Kane before.
He had expected to go for a job interview with another Nick and then realised an hour before he met me that he was meeting me, and we had never met and he had no idea what we were talking about.
I'm 23 years old at this time and I'm just finishing up college and I have really no idea of what I'm about to walk into. And so I arrive at their house and knock on the door and that's the first time I get to meet Nick and Chris in person. Nick opens the door and he kind of just dives straight into it.
I'm starting to talk to him on the assumption that he knows what we're doing and telling him all about human trafficking.
I think he thought that I knew what we were going to talk about, but that wasn't really the case.
He's got this dazed look on his face.
And all I'm thinking is like, why are you telling me this?
And he finally says, just hang on a minute, can you just fill me in on more about human trafficking? So we talked for about an hour about human trafficking and what we wanted to do.
I'd never been to Greece before. I didn't know any Greek. And I'm just learning really what human trafficking really is out of this conversation. And this is the first time I've heard about A21. When he then started to show me videos, stories, testimonies, and started telling me the statistics and telling me how innocent young lives are being impacted by this crime and being ruined by this crime, and how traffickers are preying on the most vulnerable people in our world, you know, it instantly just gripped my attention and gripped my heart.
I looked at him and said, oh, well, Phil, it's not what you were thinking, but what do you think? He looked at me and he said, I know about the problem now, so I guess I really don't have any choice. I've got to get involved.
There's no way I could turn this down. There's no way I could say no. I left that conversation with a great sense of responsibility. And then the other side of it was just this sense of adventure, of actually stepping into something and being part of something from the beginning and having the opportunity to make a difference.
And we dropped him into Thessaloniki and said, let's build from the ground up.
We started building a team of volunteers. We started developing contacts in the country. Within months, we were standing with a certified shelter for victims of human trafficking, and we were developing relationships with the law enforcement and the anti-trafficking police here in Greece.
I will never forget the first time I came to visit Phil after we had started the office here in Greece. And we were in the office for like 5 minutes when the phone rang. And it was the police saying that they had just gotten a rescue.
It was one of those moments where it's like, oh, this has just gone from theory to reality.
We knew her nationality and that she had been trafficked for sex in Greece and that she would be arriving by bus by herself from Athens.
When the phone rings and the police have a rescue, we never know what's going to be on the other end. It could be somebody who's been just trafficked or somebody who's been in it for years.
We're driving to this bus station at 1 in the morning.
This is everything that we have prepared for.
It's not in the best part of town. We don't even have a picture of her. As soon as she walks out of this bus, we're just like, that's gotta be her. I have never seen a face like that. I've never seen fear materialized in a person like that.
I just sat there in the front seat watching this scenario unfold. And right then, I just realized some of the challenges that we were getting ourselves into. I mean, we've had now over 30 different nationalities come through our care just in Greece alone.
You know, it was early days. We had, this beautiful shelter that was full most of the time, and 40% of our victims in that shelter, our survivors, were from Bulgaria, and the rest, a good percentage, were Ukrainian. So Ukraine and Bulgaria were the next two transition homes, and offices started in very quick succession after our Greek office.
We would be in the club every night. Short skirts, not much clothes. And we had smile. Always tried to smile. Had to act as if we liked it. Sometimes feel ashamed. I would see client after client, not much break, and would have to see another client. And they would lock the doors. You couldn't go. They would find us. As long as I was afraid of them, they hold me there.
Human trafficking, if I can put it in a sentence, it looks like the exploitation of very serious vulnerability. So whether it's poverty or sexual abuse in the past or just family neglect, child-headed households, the higher that is in a person's life, the far easier it is to trick, manipulate, and abuse people.
Outside.
Sorry, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
Hey, look at me, look at me.
Some of these survivors have been through the most horrific of trauma that's just unspeakable and even unthinkable. When the survivors come into our care, they're often in this place of brokenness, and they need just the most highest quality of care and rehabilitation.
For us, this is really at the heartbeat of A21, to actually restore people's lives and see these survivors find a sense of value again, get back on their feet, finding health, and ultimately finding independence. At the center of this model, we have our Freedom Center.
It's really a place for survivors to come. They can come in during the day, and they have staff here that are truly just here for the survivors. We have different programs that we work here for survivors so that they can start to really restore their lives.
This is what these places are all about. It's all about creating these opportunities to actually take steps forward in my life.
This one girl in particular, I got to watch her come out of slavery, and her demeanor and her countenance of just, didn't want to look you in the eye, untrusting. And it was really amazing to be able to see her start to trust, start to interact, start to build relationships, and talk about her dreams.
I think every human being wants a sense of acceptance, value and belonging, regardless of circumstances, and often these things have been taken away from our survivors, and so we work with meeting those basic needs of acceptance into our care, into our freedom centres.
Reese has now opened theirs, and it's such an amazing thing. And then, of course, we're looking at putting different freedom centers across the globe.
We at A21 are proud of our partnerships, and in particular the establishment of the Child Advocacy Centre in Pattaya. I want to thank the senior leadership of the Royal Thai Police and the work of the Thai Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
The CAC was created with a partnership between Homeland Security, FBI, and the Thai Police. And the idea behind it is that it will be a safe place for children.
We sat in the foyer of the hotel at one stage and saw girl after girl come in, and we would have seen 70 or 80 girls come in half an hour and go up to rooms, and not one of them would have been 15. And that's even when they're made up and trying to look like they're older.
This is the room that kids see first. So they walk in here, and for children it's really important to walk into a place where it's safe. When they come in here, they have the support of trained social workers who, the first thing they do is build trust. They make sure the child is fed, they have clothes, they feel comfortable, and they're trained forensically. What that means is that, first of all, the information can legally be used in court.
Your most crucial evidence is individuals who cannot just be bagged up and put in a storage room and saved for when you need it for the trial. Their lives go on, and they live with the fear of human traffickers. They live with the possibility of being intimidated or even trafficked again.
Our specialists know child development. They know appropriate questions. They know how to ask questions that don't re-traumatize the child that's been through probably the most horrific experience of his or her life. Walking into the CAC and seeing this room always brings back one specific case for me. I remember walking down the street and seeing this little girl and trying to talk to her, and she couldn't focus. Imagine a 3-year-old child dressed in a very skimpy, almost naked outfit, like a bathing suit with full-on makeup. And this little girl was forced to dance for about maybe 7 hours a night. Because she couldn't obviously perform for that long, they would give her drugs. For 2 years, we tried to get this girl off the street, and we couldn't. We couldn't because there was some kind of loophole in the law that allowed this girl to be there. And then the Pattaya police, a really good commander, came on board, and we created the CAC with them. And so they went and picked her up. So I remember her coming in here. I remember her sitting here at 4 a.m. on the floor of this room. This little girl got new clothes, she showered, she changed, and she turned into a child. Within half an hour, she was back to being a child, playing with the toys, eating pizza, and hanging out with a social worker. So she was supporting a family of 3 people. She was paying for the house, for the rent, for the electricity. She was working every night at the age of 3 and being drugged. Now she's one of the first in her class. She has an amazing family. She has little kittens. She has about 4 kittens right now. We went to see her, and she's doing gymnastics.
We see literally hundreds of victims in Thailand who have been trafficked from Cambodia. I'm excited that we're now operating in a new location, that we've just started operations in Cambodia.
So this is the value of this. It is much more than just we have toys, we have kids. This is where kids come, this is where their life changes, and this is where A21 can take somebody from the street on drugs and turn them and give them their life back.
Human Trafficking Resource Line, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm not sure if I'm in the right place, but I just want to report something that I just saw now.
The Human Trafficking Resource Line is a line for people to be able to report situations of human trafficking that they might notice in their communities.
The phone call will come in, and then we'll start the hard work of coordinating a case in order to do a raid or in order to set up a situation that is safe for a victim to be rescued.
I got a call about 2 children on a bus traveling with 2 adults who seemed to be posing as their parents, but the situation seemed very suspicious because it was quite obvious that they were not the parents. The onlooker reported the suspicious activity, and the only information that could be provided was the license plate number of the bus. I was able to identify which bus company it was. I called the bus company and I asked to speak to the management. I explained the situation, and through that I was able to get the contact details of the bus driver as well as the coordinates and the destination that they were traveling to. Law enforcement was dispatched, the bus was stopped en route, and the suspects were taken into custody, and we were able to partner with law enforcement to coordinate support services for the children. Looking back on that situation, what is just so great is the fact that there were so many different parts to play in assisting those children. There was the caller who saw something and felt that something was not right, and he acted upon that feeling. He reported the situation, and with the resource line being available to assist with those type of calls, we were able to intercept the situation before exploitation could even take place.
Seeing the tool that they have become to be that line out where trafficking victims themselves can call.
But from the beginning, we wanted it to be not just a rescue hotline, but also be a resource line, a prevention tool, a method for delivering knowledge and information to the country.
I honestly believe that where our office is now, it is a game changer for South Africa, specifically the human trafficking resource line that we operate. I believe that it is the key to changing the face of trafficking.
There's just so much power in a tool like the resource line being available and community members being educated on what to look out for and knowing where to report these situations so that services can be provided and we can do more prevention work instead of always just responding to human trafficking.
Imagine what every one of those phone calls could do. Imagine how many victims we can identify. Imagine how many trafficking rings we could take down. Imagine how many children we can rescue. Imagine the potential.
We really just want to encourage people to always report something if they see something suspicious.
location is, please.
You can talk about labour trafficking, you can talk about trafficking as if it's something that's completely separate from you, but the reality is all of that we're talking about is hidden but yet in plain sight.
I read a script and there were elements of the script that I was really intrigued by, and met with the director and the writer and kind of said, like, how did you come up with something this twisted, or, you know, what made your mind go there? And I was very naive to the fact that this was something that was derived from something that happens every day in our backyard, and I had absolutely no idea.
Most people don't really know what true human trafficking looks like. It's really disguised. It looks like just an everyday person, perhaps a family, perhaps a boyfriend and girlfriend situation, perhaps just a regular employer-employee situation, and that's not the case. There's usually force, fraud, or coercion involved.
This campaign helps the public identify a victim, whether that be in a scenario they find themselves in, whether it be a nail salon or a car wash or a laundrette or whatever it may be. It empowers you to make a call to the National Human Trafficking Hotline.
That's kind of what the whole Can You See Me campaign is about, is like, if you see something, a change, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but you should say something and you should do something.
Human trafficking, it is not only sex trafficking, but it's labor trafficking and many different forms of labor trafficking, many different forms of sex trafficking. And what the Can You See Me campaign does, it looks at the research of each country that it's used in and looks at the main types of human trafficking occurring there.
This is a great opportunity for us to stand up and do something together. So if you see something, report it. If you suspect something, report it.
I think one of the really powerful parts of the Can You See Me campaign is partnerships. In order for a hotline to be effective and to send that information to law enforcement so they can intervene, you have to give the public something to look for.
We've seen identification of victims go up by 1,200%. That's a staggering amount. Reports to the police went up by 400%.
Recently, I was at Heathrow Airport and I get to the baggage carousel. As I turn round, I see, Can You See Me? I didn't even really realize what I was looking at.
Looking at the genesis of A21, when Chris saw the posters in Thessaloniki Airport, that sparked something.
If you had told me 10 years ago, when I couldn't look away from Sophia, that I'd be standing at Heathrow and around the major airports of the world, we would have launched a global Can You See Me campaign, I don't know that I could have believed you.
It's one of the places where the public collides with the victim or potential victim, and therefore an opportunity to prevent that from happening in the first place.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming onto stage with a huge round of applause, A21, Nick and Christine Kane.
A21 has had great success with representing survivors in court. One of the cases Because of 2 survivors' testimony, we were able to see the arrest and prosecution of a significant ringleader in this country, which the police themselves believe has trafficked up to 1,000 women for sexual exploitation.
Walk for Freedom is definitely one of the most important things that we do. Not everybody could go and, pull someone out of a brothel or pull someone out of a very dangerous trafficking situation, but we could all become advocates. We could all use our voices. We could all rise up and say, you know what, this is not okay, not on my watch.
I became aware in a job interview, and however way people have become aware, it leaves us with that decision of what is my response going to be to what I now know.
The truth is, our lives are like a ripple effect. Every decision we make matters.
On those days where I have felt like we're alone in this, to know that there are supporters out there, that keeps you going because you know you're not alone. You know that it's not just your single effort, but it is backed up by another person, by another person, by another person.
I really do believe in the power of individual action.
No one ever changed the world because they were scared of impossibilities. I am one person, but being able to help one person is what makes it worth it.
That is when A21 came involved. And they were very supportive. They were just amazing, helping me through a lot.
I think it's when we all work together and give what we can that we're able to actually solve this problem, to actually eradicate human trafficking while we are still on this earth.
I think we have achieved so much in 10 years because our supporters have been so generous. People have really jumped in and said, you know what, we want to help to abolish slavery. So it's going to take all of us doing something. No one person can do everything, but every one of us can give something. And monthly partnership is just huge because it really enables us to be able to help support our child advocacy centres, our freedom centres, our aftercare facilities, our education, our prevention, and our training programs. And really, at the end of the day, the more we have, the more we can do, the more we're able to help.
I want to invite every person watching this film to be a part of the next 10 years. As people become freedom sponsors, then they're on the journey with us so that we can see a world without slavery. We have the power to multiply the effectiveness so that we can all be part of the solution.
Everybody wants to change the world. Everybody wants to make a difference. And we kind of have this realization that we've got like this much time on the planet. So let's give this everything we've got.
10 years ago, I didn't know it existed. And the fact is, I woke up and my eyes were open, my mouth was open, I was one person. And now look at the effect of what's happened. Can you imagine if every single human being that's seeing this wakes up like I did 10 years ago? Do you really think we can abolish slavery everywhere forever? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Never underestimate the power in one action and the ripple effect that could have far beyond what you could imagine to people that you may never meet in a country that you may never visit.
There are still over 40 million people in slavery, and we're in 14 of 195 countries. So to me, that means that we've only just begun to fight.